Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Inner Light Ministries. Welcome to our virtual weekly offering. We are so pleased to have you with us, regardless of where you are, regardless of the time that you're watching this. Know that you are family, you are community with us. If this is your first time, or whether you've been with us for decades, we are here together truly for such a time as this. So just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. And I'm going to ask you, if you can, to just allow all of your attention to be right here. It's so easy for us to be multitasking, doing a lot of different things. If you're able to just steal away for a moment and be very present, it would be in such alignment with what we're going to be talking about today, which is about being gentle with our own selves. You know, most of the time I'm doing messages about all of our power and standing forth and speaking power unto truth and truth unto power. And all of that is probably some of that'll be woven in here. And it's time to balance that a little bit, particularly with where we are in our social political climate. There's so much that's going on. If you're looking at this in real time, we're just towards the end now of January 2025, and there's just a lot going on. There's a lot going on politically, with wars going on, the second inauguration of Donald Trump. There's a lot going on in the environment with fires in LA and war in Gaza and snow in Florida, uh, and on and on. It can just feel like a lot, particularly with all of the executive orders that have come out, hundreds of them, and the release of the January 6th insurrectionist and on and on. And it can feel like you're just being like bowled over. So we're going to be here asking you to just take a breath. We'll be talking a little bit about how to do the self care that's necessary for us to be able to be present, to do the spiritual work that is before us to do individually and collectively. As a reminder, I want to go over Inner Light's statement of purpose, why it is that we're here as community in the first place. It'll flash on the screen and you can read along with me. Inner Light is an open, diverse, inclusive community of individuals and organizations dedicated to spiritual transformation. We provide tools for activating higher possibilities by applying universal spiritual principles to all circumstances. Our aim is personal and global healing through the omni-faith energy of love and the revealing of our own inner light. Promoting life's sacred interconnectedness, we embody spiritual oneness, appreciate individualized expressions, and honor all paths that lead to spiritual truth, justice, and ecological regeneration. Let that sink in. That's why we're here. And if you're looking at this, I also know that that's why you're here, that there's something in here that's resonating with you. So it says in there that we provide tools. And one of the tools that we provide every week are spiritual activations. These are exactly 100 words every week these are paradigms, they're principles, they're protocols, they're practices, they're perspectives and perceptions. They're ways of thinking about things that recalibrate us. It's like a tuning fork. The affirmations have been popular for decades. You know, we just celebrated our 28-year anniversary, and we've had affirmations every week for 28 years. So we've had a lot of affirmations. Um, I see them everywhere. People will print them out sometimes and put them on their refrigerators or keep them around in their offices or places in their home. I'm going to invite you to say the affirmations with me as they come up on your screen and invite you to come back to them and say them to yourselves. I am lovingly gentle with myself, compassionate, encouraging, and patient. I give myself permission to feel, deal, and heal. No more powering through to avoid feeling weak or vulnerable. I am willing to experience the full range of my emotions. I prioritize my well being, taking time each day for self care. Exercising regularly, I am agile and flexible, free from pain and addictions. I rest and rejuvenate, daily regulate and recalibrate. I have no desire for anything that is not healthy. There is no appetite for what does not serve. I treat my body with the reverence that it deserves. Yeah, soak that in with for a moment. And notice if there's anything there that's calling out to you. Maybe it's I prioritize my well being, taking time each day for self care. Perhaps it's I treat my body with the reverence that it deserves. Or I give myself permission to feel, deal, and heal. Also, notice if there's anything that you might be resisting a little bit or wondering if it really applies to you. Maybe it's something like, I have no desire for anything that is not healthy, or no more powering through to avoid feeling weak or vulnerable. Whatever that is for you, when you come back to this, I ask you to pay attention. Pay attention to what's calling you, pay attention to what's aggravating you or you find yourself resisting because they have gifts for you. They have gifts. So breathe that in. Breathe that in. So as we further cultivate the soil of our mind so that we are fertile for the message that's trying to pour through this day for all of us, and that includes me. I'm going to invite into this space one of the very popular artists in the New Thought movement who, like several others, like the Byers Beckwith writing team, has created so many songs that are just staples in New Thought spiritual communities. This is Karen Drucker with Gentle with Myself. And I invite you to chant, to just get comfy and sing along with it.
I will be gentle with myself, and I will hold myself like a newborn baby child. I will be gentle with myself. I will be gentle with myself, and I will hold myself like a newborn baby child. I will be tender with my heart. I will be tender with my heart, and I will hold my heart like a newborn baby child. I will be tender with my heart. I will be tender with my heart, and I will hold my heart like a newborn baby child. And I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. I will be easy on myself. I will be easy on myself, and I love myself like a newborn baby child. I will be easy on myself. I will be easy on myself, and I love myself like a newborn baby child. And I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. And I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. Now I know I am gentle with myself. I am gentle with myself, and I hold myself like a newborn baby child. I am gentle with myself. I am gentle with myself, and I hold myself like a newborn baby child. And I rock myself like a newborn baby child. And I hold myself like a newborn baby child. And I love myself like a newborn baby child.
Just soak that in for a moment. Soak that in. Gentle with myself. Gentle with myself. And you know, for so many of us, we are actually our own worst critic. Think about that for a moment. We are our own worst critic. The negative self talk, the doubts, the worries, the concerns, the fears. Yeah, it takes a lot to stay grounded. It takes a lot to stay centered. Okay. It takes a lot to keep your consciousness upstairs and to not get swept away in the drama du jour, the current events. It takes a lot to be in the world, but not of the world. It says in scripture, be not conformed to this age, these times, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And this mind isn't just an intellectual thing. It's the sum total of our spirit, our emotions, our intellect, all of it. To be gentle with ourselves. Just take a breath. Take a breath. We are in such an interesting moment in history, particularly in our social political arena. And I use the word social as well as political because it's us as a collective and who we are. The level of rancor, vitriol, it keeps going up. Our capacity for civility, to just be kind, to be able to address each other with respect. More and more, even things like flight attendants are finding themselves getting attacked by passengers being like more and more rude. And what I know is that hurt people hurt people. This is not a commentary about just like the bad behavior that's out there. It is to say that it is the evidence of something that's missing. I always say that the only thing that ever needs to be healed is just the sense of separation. It's just the sense. When you're happy and you're content with yourself, you're not angry. When you're happy and you are content with yourself, there is absolutely no need for you to harass, for you to berate, for you to do anything that is unkind. And when you do, it is the evidence that you're hurting. It's the evidence that there's something within you that's not resolved. So as human beings, we have these three basic emotional responses to traumas and pain. We have fight, we have flight, and we have freeze. Okay? We duke it out, we run away, or we just get numb and literally just do nothing. And we're watching all of that happen. All of that happen in our own individual lives and in the collective. We have the fight, the vitriol that I've been, just speaking about. We also have the flight. So many people I hear saying, you know what, I'm just done. I'm just checking out. I'm not even looking at the news. I don't care. I'm done. I'm tired of it all. This, I can't even keep my sanity, knowing what's going on. It reminds me of this cartoon sketch that I saw recently, where it's a little pencil sketch, black and white, and it has this man and woman walking down the street in a commercial area, and the woman says to the man that my desire to stay informed is in deep conflict now with my desire to stay sane. Okay. And that's where a lot of people are. Okay. They're just like, I'm out. And then there's the freeze. There's this paralysis where, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going on? What do I do? And just hoping that if you don't make any waves, if you're just not seen, you don't do anything, somehow or another, like everything's just going to blow away or, just whoo. No. We can move beyond fight, flight, and freeze. Those are our most primitive responses. Okay. We can transcend that with the renewing of our minds. And it starts with being gentle. It starts with being gentle with ourselves. Okay. Feel, deal, and heal. Feel, deal, and heal. Okay. The willingness in the affirmations that we just read, one of the lines was that I'm willing to experience the full range of my emotions. Okay. The emphasis on willing. Listen to what I'm saying here. The willingness. It doesn't mean that you have to. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that you have to experience all of your anger, all of your frustration, all of your sadness to like the deepest level. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that you have to experience even all of your elation to the highest and highest peaks. But if you're unwilling, listen to what I'm saying. If you're unwilling, that puts a block. See, if you're unwilling to feel the depths of your fear, you're running away from that. If you're unwilling to feel the depths of your resentment or perhaps even hatred towards somebody or something, whatever that is that we're unwilling to feel, we stuff down. And it becomes kind of like in a swimming pool. If you're in a swimming pool and there's a beach ball in the pool and you try to jump on top of the ball, it's very buoyant and you won't sink. It won't sink and it keeps like throwing you over because it's so buoyant. Well, it's like that. It's like that. If we are unwilling to experience anything, you can't stuff it down. It just keeps popping up all over the place. What you resist persists. What you resist persists. Okay. You actually become what you don't forgive. Ooh. Listen to that. You become what you don't forgive. That's how we get into the cycles of abuse, where the molested child becomes a child molester. Show me a child molester, and I will show you an adult who was molested as a child. Battery, assault, all of that. It's generational. We pass it on and on. And it's so important that we stop that. It's so important that we give ourselves permission and say, this thing ends here. It ends with me. It ends with my generation. We are not taking this on to the next generation. We are not passing this on. It begins with me. But the only way it can do that is if you're willing to face it. See, if you're willing to face it and talk yourself down, if you're willing to face it and make choices, willing to face it and say, yeah, but I'm not going down that route. Okay. I understand that sadness. I understand that grief, but I'm not going down that direction. I choose something else. I choose to feel, deal, and heal. I choose to be willing to face whatever is so. When we get into the addictive behaviors, drugs, sex, workaholism, whatever our drug of choice is, relationships, um, we are trying not to feel something. Okay, your drinking isn't your problem. That's not your problem. The drinking is masking the problem, but you'll never find out what the problem is until you stop drinking. So we're masking the problem. See, the anger, the vitriol, that's not the problem. That's just the drug of choice. It's like society shooting up or something on rage and anger, on intimidation and harassment. No, that's just masking what's underneath. Just bring this in for a moment. One of the things that anger is an expression of is grief. It's grief. At this time of year, in the middle of winter, is one of the times that people grieve the most. They grieve the most because in the winter, there's often a lot of loss. More people pass away in the winter, like the leaves that fall off the trees. There's like seasons of life. I know this is true for me in my family. So many things have happened around this time of the year in terms of these great transitions. And we're experiencing so many of these great transitions in our personal lives, in our communities, on the social political arena, these huge, huge transitions. Okay. Take a breath. Once we start grieving, we're grieving. Once we start grieving, we're not even just grieving what it is that we've lost most recently. When we get into grief, we find ourselves grieving just lost, period. So you never know. You'll find yourself feeling like your emotions may be disproportionately intense given the circumstance. Okay. Something breaks, something spills, somebody says something, and boom, you're you're suddenly triggered and feeling all this stuff. Well, because that's what it is. It's just a trigger. It's just a trigger. So be mindful of that and be gentle with yourself. When you find yourself feeling all these rumblings and feelings or whatnot, that's when you give yourself permission. Give yourself permission. Stop for a moment. Take a break. Quit pushing so hard. I know that was true for myself, that, I didn't want to be weak. I didn't want to be weak. No. That was like, to me, the cardinal sin. But then I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I remember when I was taking practitioner training before I was a minister. This was like in the early 80s. And my instructor was Reverend Michael Beckwith. He was in ministerial school at the same place that I was taking practitioner training. And he said to the class, that my problem was that I didn't want to be vulnerable. I was absolutely furious, particularly since I had just come out of this really huge public non-discrimination lawsuit that was just all over the place. In the news, Gloria Allred was my attorney. It's like, what do you mean I don't want to be vulnerable? But he was right. He was right. And I had to learn that it wasn't a weakness. There's this dilemma that we have where, particularly in the English language, we're recycling the same words for both a spiritual connotation and a secular connotation, but they will have completely opposite meanings. So vulnerability in the secular sense means to be weak. There's nothing weak about spiritual vulnerability. Okay. With spiritual vulnerability, it's not that you're weak. It's that you're open. You're open with the understanding that the transparency and the openness is actually strength. It's like everything's opposite from the spiritual to the secular, where I was resistant to that concept of being grounded. Say, well, you've got to be spiritually grounded. Say, I don't want to be grounded. All I can do is hear my father. You're grounded, little lady. It's like, I don't want to be grounded, because grounded meant you took something away from me. Okay, you took my privileges and my freedom and whatnot away from me in a secular sense. But in a spiritual sense, grounded means just the opposite of that. Instead of taking something away from you, it's anchoring you and connecting you to something that's so much bigger and greater than you. So rather than being isolated, you're actually anchored in something that can hold you up. That can hold you up. So in being gentle with yourself, it may mean that you have to rethink a few things, rewire a few things, literally rewire in our brains, because we have coupled certain concepts and we have to decouple them. Okay. So we couple feeling vulnerable with feeling weak. We've got to, pull that apart. No, and be willing to tell ourselves a different story. This is a daily practice. It is daily. A lot of times we don't even think about self-care until we have come up against some kind of challenge, some kind of trauma, but it's daily. And here's another thing that I want you to pay attention to about being gentle with yourself and grief. Okay. Anger is one thing that happens with grief, but a lot of things happen with grief. We can get into denial with grief. We can get into bargaining, trying to make things different than what they are. There are many things. We finally can get into acceptance. One of the things that I've truly learned through the years that I don't hear really people talk about is that when we grieve, we're not just grieving the loss of what we had. We're grieving the loss of what we thought could be. Listen to what I'm saying. We're grieving the loss of what we thought could be. The hopes, the dreams, the desires, the expectations. I find that when couples divorce, they don't even want to be with each other anymore. And the grief is not about the marriage that actually ended. The grief is about the marriage that they were holding on thinking that they could eventually have, like letting that go. If your father dies, there's one kind of grief if you grew up with your father and you knew him. It's another kind of grief if you never even met him. And I contend that the grief of what we didn't experience is as great, sometimes if not greater, than the sense of the loss of what we actually had. In this social political arena, I find it so interesting that the anger and the frustration on the part of those more on the right, the red, tends to be a sense of loss about what they thought they had. Like somebody took something from them and they're less off than what they used to be. And they need to find a way to get it back. You know, turn back the clock to some better time when we were respected or more powerful or I was the hero or whatever. And I find that on the progressive side, the blue camp, that it's more of the flip. That their grief right now is more about what they're not going to have. Not what they had and lost, but the promise of America, the promise of the equality, of the justice, of the liberty for all. I feel very certain about this. Having been born and raised in Los Angeles, spending the first half of my life there, city went up in flames, not from climate, external climate, but from political climate. In my lifetime, the first time it went up was in the 60s during the riots, during the Watts riots and the civil disobedience of the civil rights movement. You know, when King was around. And then when Rodney King was killed by the police, kind of like the George Floyd moment back in the 90s. And city went up in flames. You know, it went up in flames when King Jr. was killed in the 60s, not too long after the Watts riots. It's just been like all these times. And I know it looks like it's just anger, but it's not. And I'm not trying to justify it, but it's very specific. There's never any damage done to homes, to schools, to libraries, to hospitals, to churches or religious establishments. Nobody, that doesn't happen. The only thing that struck is commerce. It's commerce. It's business. A lot of rioting and looting. It's economic discontent. A feeling of having been left out, passed over, relegated to an inferior social status, and the resentment about that. It's coming out in this rage, but it's the rage over the promise that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. Langston Hughes has a famous poem about this raisin in the sun. What happens to a dream deferred? It's at the end of the poem. He says, does it shrivel like a raisin in the sun, or does it explode? Part of being gentle with yourself is learning how to nurture your dreams. Just because the dream didn't come through and happen like that particular way doesn't mean that you have to give up on the dream. Even if you personally won't experience it. The night before Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, he gave one of his most famous speeches. He put aside his actual speech. He was in Memphis, Tennessee, talking to the sanitation workers, and he spoke more extemporaneously. And he shared this quote that basically was quoting scripture, and he was quoting Moses. Moses never actually made it into the promised land. He led the people out of Egypt, the Israelites out of Egypt through the Exodus journey, through the desert, through the wilderness for 40 years, but he never made it into the promised land. And he tells the people, I may not make it there with you, but it's all right. I'm not fearing any man. I'm not fearing anything. I have been to the mountaintop. I have seen it. I've been to the mountaintop. I have seen it. And it is that capacity to go to the mountaintop and see it that creates the opening and the space for the generations after us to walk into the fulfillments of the dream. Listen to what I'm saying. We're all planting seeds for a better tomorrow, not just for today. And we have to have patience. That be a patient gardener. Everything may not flourish in our lifetime, but that doesn't mean that it can't. And that doesn't mean that it won't. It doesn't mean that it can't, and it doesn't mean that it won't. But we have to be gentle with ourselves, not beat our own selves up, not be impatient and frustrated with our own selves, and not allow the things that other people are doing out there to, in our minds, make us shrivel and shrink. Okay. I don't care how many executive orders there are. We are not going back. That genie is out the bottle. And as I watch my life's work in diversity, equity, and inclusion being dismantled, as I watch the rights that so many of us have fought for being dismantled, anticipating things like marriage equality being overturned like Roe v. Wade, just all of these things that just make me so angry and frustrated, feeling like America's going backwards away from the direction of the dream that I see. I have to be gentle with myself. And I'm asking you to be gentle with yourself, because we can't heal what we don't feel. And as much as I don't want to go through all of this on the larger collective level, we'll never heal it if we deny it. We'll never heal it if we don't feel it. We'll never heal it if its dysfunction doesn't become totally transparent. You don't know that you have to change when you don't realize there's a problem. So some of us might have flagged stuff a little bit earlier than other people, but we keep the light on. We keep the light on because there's only one of us here. Since there's only one of us here, when I'm gentle with myself, I have to learn to just be gentle, period. That doesn't mean that you don't have any standard. Think of it like rearing your children. Okay. It doesn't mean that you don't have discipline. It doesn't mean that you don't call them up. It doesn't mean, but there's a gentleness with which you do it that protects their dignity, that allows them to continue to grow and to thrive. It's the both and. It's the both and. Be present, do your work, don't throw in the towel, and take care of yourself while you're doing it. Okay? Rest, regulate, okay? Put some boundaries on what you do and where you do and how you do it, and recalibrate. The 3 R's: rest, regulate, recalibrate. What's your North Star? What's that vibration that you gravitate towards to keep yourself in tune? Take a breath and let's turn within. I give thanks in this moment. I give thanks for this thing called life. I give thanks for the hopes, the dreams. And I have no attachment. The specifics may not manifest in the way that I have in mind. But the underlying essence, hold on to forever. And hold on to equity and justice and equality. Hold on to compassion, the freedom, to wholeness, to cooperation, to compassion. Hold on. In this moment right now, we're gentle with ourselves. Our own names are safe in our own mouths. The name of the divine is safe in our mouth. We strive to have everybody's name safe in our mouth. Lord, lift us up where we belong. Plant our feet on higher ground. With the transcendent view, we see everything. We're not so fixated on any particular trees that we miss the forest. We have the courage to see, the willingness to hear. We speak the word. We speak the word of divine order and right action everywhere, manifesting in ways that we may not even understand, but we know that God is God. Nobody and nothing else. And truly, nobody or nothing else can do it better. Speak to our hearts. We're comforted in the midnight hour. We are rejuvenated. We are uplifted. We are restored. We are renewed. We are recalibrated. In this moment right now, we choose. We choose to stay upstairs in consciousness. We choose oneness over divisiveness. We choose joy over judgment. We choose love and embrace over separation. We choose it. I say thank you, Mother, Father, God, for your bounty, which is unlimited. All needs met. All of them. Not just some, but all. Every financial need. Every physical need. Every emotional need. Every social need. Every political need. All of them. Personal and collective. God is doing a new thing. So we thank you for coming through. Healing of the body temple. Those financial affairs being handled in ways that we can never imagine. The resources. The clarity. The direction. The opportunities. The housing, the food, the clothing, the clean air, the health care, the community, the sustenance, the companionship, the balance, the strength, the courage, the agility, the wisdom. It's all there. We just tap into it as our very essence. We get out of the way, allowing God to be God. And we just breathe that in. Breathe that in. We're praying community here. Pray all the time. And if you have a special request that's on your heart, that's on your mind, I encourage you to reach out to us. It's all confidential. We have prayer practitioners, people who have studied minimum 3 or 4 years. Most of these folks have been doing this for decades. And they're ready to pray with you. They're ready to pray for you. Your loved one, whatever circumstance or condition is on your heart. And it doesn't have to be something dire. Perhaps it's celebratory. Perhaps there's something birthing. And you might need somebody to stand in agreement with you for the highest unfoldment of a divine idea. We're there. We got you. You can give us a call at 831-465-9090 at extension 254. You can also send us an email. The number 4 and the word prayer at innerlightministries.com. And our prayer practitioners will get back to you as soon as possible. But the prayer starts immediately. Thank you. And so it is. Amen. So we breathe that in. Breathe that in. Yes. So if you happen to be looking at this in real time at the end of January in 2025, we invite you next Sunday to not only join us for our virtual offering, but to also join us in person at the Resource Center for Nonviolence in the downtown area. That's 3 o'clock Pacific time. There will be good eats that are there. Afterwards, Beth Freewoman is the musical inspiration. Of course, we have our house band. I'll be speaking there. And just come. There's going to be movement and music and prayer, community. It's time to connect. And if you're not able to be there in person, it will live stream. It'll live stream on our YouTube channel, Inner Light Ministries live stream. So, check us out, check out the calendar to see all the different things that are going on. We love being in community with you. We love being in community with you. Take a breath. Yes. And also, in person and virtual is the Martin Luther King Convocation with UCSC on the 30th of January. We are always one of the co-sponsors. I'll be doing the opening reflections. Shaniqua Holzclaw, the WNBA star, is the guest speaker. Once again, also online, you can go through UCSC's website to get that link. If you're in person, it's at the Kaiser Arena at 6:30. So this is our time of conscious contribution. And we say thank you. Thank you to everyone for your gifts, your donations, those special year-end gifts, those extra gifts as well. And still coming in memory of Kathy Miles. Kathy and her family requested that instead of flowers and things to the family, that in Kathy's name, you make a contribution to Inner Light Ministries. And we're just so grateful for that, and for everybody who showed up at her memorial service at Temple Bethel and all what happened there. You see on your screen that there are different ways that you can make that contribution. We're an independent community, and we literally thrive and survive financially on whatever it is that's coming in from the people who support us. So many of the people, in fact, I dare say most of the people on the online giving are not in the Santa Cruz area. And we recognize that and know you to be part of a community. You see there's a QR code. You can use that, scan that, use a debit or a credit card. There is also a reoccurring option that you can use with that. There's a reoccurring option as well with the text to give, which is 831-231-0065. You're looking at this online. There's a donate button that you will find there on our website. Perhaps you want to do Cash App, $ Inner Light Ministries. And we also will take old-fashioned way. If you want to send a check, you can mail it to our P.O. Box there. P.O. Box 1029 in SoCal, California, 95073. And know that no matter the method that you use, that every last nickel, dollar, and dime is going towards the things that we need to do in infrastructure and in programming in order to be the blessing, to get this message out, to multiply this consciousness so people can use universal spiritual principles in everyday circumstances. Yes. So we thank you. We thank you for that. And remember, it's not a one-way street. Okay. You are blessed by your own giving. You are blessed by your own giving. Your generosity returns to you. It returns to you. So we're so happy that you were with us. Please come back. Come back to the affirmations. Keep saying them. Keep saying them. Come back. Like us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this message with your friends, your family, and your colleagues. As always, take this consciousness and multiply it.